Hello focus friends. Today I'd like to speak about sugar and metabolic disease. Are you aware that 90% of the ailments that people in the USA and Britain are treated for are due to metabolic disease, and that metabolic disease is entirely avoidable? In the West, there's a growing awareness that we're facing an epidemic of metabolic disease. Simply put, we're increasingly unhealthy. While, thanks to the Industrial Revolution and rising living standards, the primary drivers of early death, that is cold, lack of food and bad sanitary conditions, have been relieved, other deeply compromising and chronic factors have arisen that are eating into the health that we've obtained courtesy of the modern industrialised life. And there's a growing awareness of what's driving these new problems, and while it's multifactorial, there's a root cause that stands out more than the others, and that is excessive blood sugar levels, combined with broken or compromised food sources. And when you hear that, hear hyper-processed foods. Other factors like environmental contamination also apply, but they're probably of lesser significance, and we'll address those in a later video. It's becoming clear that excessive blood sugar levels have been damaging two key body systems. Firstly, the endocrine system, which is what facilitates the distribution of energy throughout the body. And here we're talking about sugars, primarily glucose, and secondly, the system of mitochondria in our cells. Today, we're going to consider the more significant of these two, though both are very important, and that's the endocrine system and the excessive blood sugar levels that we're pumping through it. Now, at this point, I should add, I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist, and there are many great resources out there on the internet, and I provide some links along with this objective underneath this video. In particular, I recommend the videos of Dr Sten Ekberg. He's an ex-Olympian and a nutritionist. But I think I can give a very clear summary of the problem, and it's this. In modern life, convenient supermarket shopping means that we have access to an abundance of food of all types. And over time, for a variety of reasons, we have started to overconsume carbohydrates. And the problem with this is that any and all carbohydrate that we consume is unerringly converted by the body into sugar, and a combination of carbohydrates and sugary food mean that our bodies are now, as we go through life, having to deal with too much sugar. Excessive carbohydrate consumption means that we're subject to excessive blood sugar spikes, and because of our eating patterns, this is happening for many multiple times a day. Sugar, whether consumed directly or created from the conversion of a carbohydrate, is highly addictive. It creates a high, and like any addictive substance, there is also an associated come down. Quietly and without realising, most people in the West have, to a greater or lesser extent, become sugar addicted. And because many of us are consuming sugar too often, we start to confuse that come down with hunger. But it isn't hunger. It's actually more akin to craving. And craving, when we're addicted to something, occurs to stave off withdrawal. Once addicted in this way, we take each sugar come down as the signal to eat again. But that signal isn't representative of true hunger. You see, there are two sources for the body to obtain energy with which to power us throughout the day. Firstly, as discussed, there's sugars, and a limited amount of sugar energy can be stored by the body as glycogen. But secondly, there's fat. Now, I'm deliberately simplifying this next part, but when we run low on glycogen and sugar, our body enters a state of ketosis. Ketone production indicates that fat is being converted to sugar for use by the body. So here's the problem. In modern society, with food abundance and sugar addiction, we've effectively constructed a psychological barrier to entering ketosis. In our state of withdrawal, we take the craving we encounter as we need to enter ketosis as a signal to eat. Consequently, we do, and many of us never enter that fat-consuming state. When we consume in this mode, taking the addiction threshold as the signal to eat, we rarely cross the threshold. Putting on fat has become, for far too many of us, a one-way street. We've become almost wholly reliant on sugar and carbohydrate injection for our fuel. But trust me on this. Though our bodies may scream with craving when we approach the threshold, it's not natural. The craving isn't necessary. It isn't how we should feel. And I should know. Because through implementing a healthy diet, I've gone from that sugar rush craving state to feeling satiated and balanced for the duration of the day. So trust me, we really should and can feel comfortable entering ketosis and consuming fat. It's an unhealthy food type balance that drives cravings, and that unhealthy food type balance can be remedied. If we really attend to it, the cravings will fade. And now the bad news. This high blood sugar loop has the secondary effect of massively shifting our comfort level, that is, where we expect to be in the hunger cycle, such that we think that overstimulated raised blood sugar state is normal. It isn't. It just feels better than the come down state. Over time, this is bad for us, extremely bad, because it leads to a state known as insulin resistance. As Ekberg paints the picture, when we have too much sugar, we have too much insulin, because the body generates insulin to deal with sugar. Its role is to transport sugar to the cells, but with excess, the cells, the intended recipients, become full and start refusing to take more. The sugar remains in the blood, and the result is constantly raised blood sugar levels. This is in fact a toxic condition, and over time it causes all manner of damage. This condition, known as insulin resistance, is now suffered by far too many in the West. It's also the major factor behind what is referred to as metabolic disease. Now, after some time, after what could be described as desperation, with more sugar-saturated insulin in the blood than it can cope with, the body reduces insulin production, and eventually our capacity to produce it can stop altogether. And this condition is more commonly known as diabetes. Insulin resistance, and especially diabetes, are a cause of all manner of ill health. When you look into it, it's really quite staggering what these conditions are responsible for. Now, this is a lot of information to take in, and we'll be returning to this subject in future videos. So to balance it out, today's objective is going to be remarkably simple. Visualize every carbohydrate food source that you consume as sugar. Additionally, if you drink beer, visualize it as liquid bread, which in turn is also akin to a heap of sugar. This is not to say that sugar is always bad. Sugars and glycogen stores play a vital role in our ability to perform physical tasks, and are also good for cognitive performance. But given the overconsumption of sugars and the issue with high blood sugar levels, for many this will be a positive objective. In future videos, we're going to look at ways to positively respond to this visualization in terms of food purchase and nutrition. Thanks for watching my video. We're only just getting started at Simple Focus, and if you saw this through my app and like the content, I've got a favour to ask you. Please use the link in the text below this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and that will help increase its visibility, which in turn will help me to continue producing content for you to see, and new objectives for the app. Simple Focus provides a quick-to-use, self-improvement checklist. See your progress at a glance. Acquire the habit of self-improvement daily, with a morning checklist, objective of the day, and an evening review. View and prioritise objectives for the positive habits you'd like to form. Great video content appears daily in the magazine, and when you see something you like, add it to your objectives.